Hello students, welcome to Notebook. Today we shall discuss the chapter International Trade. Trade, as you all know, is the exchange of goods. The barter system was the earliest method of trade, but with time it went out of practice due to several shortcomings. Trade is carried on at two levels, national and international. Let's take a quick glimpse into the history of international trade. The earliest form of trade was carried out on local basis in the local markets. The basic necessities of life were exchanged. The Silk Route was the earliest form of long-distance trade carried on between China and Rome. Seafaring became another way of connecting different places across the globe. This gave a huge boom to the European commerce. With colonialism practices in the 15th century, slave trade came into practice. The Dutch, Portuguese and British captured African natives and forcefully transported them to the Americas for their labor in the plantations. With the Industrial Revolution, the monetary value of primary goods declined. Hence, industrialized countries began to export finished products to non-industrialized countries. Trade taxes and restrictions were introduced for the first time during the two world wars. Now we shall discuss why international trade is important and has been practiced since the very beginning. The difference in natural resources, geological structure. The difference in geological structure and topography ensures diversity of crops and animals be raised in different parts of the world. Mineral resources. The mineral resources of the world is distributed unevenly across the globe. The distribution affects the export power of a nation. Climate. It influences the flora and fauna of a particular region. For example, the production of cash crops or animal products. Population and culture factors. The different art and cultural practices which develop in certain parts of the world are valued internationally. Hence, their demand increases. The population of place also influences international trade. Stage of economic development. The items traded by a country depend on its economic development at any given point of time. Countries that are dependent on agriculture exchange agro-based products for manufactured goods, whereas industrialized nations export machinery and finished products and import food grains and other raw materials. The foreign direct investment boosts trade in developing countries which do not have the capital required for the development of internal infrastructure like mining, oil drilling, heavy engineering, lumbering, etc. The three important aspects of international trade are volume of trade. The total value of trade goods and services traded is considered to be the volume of trade. This has been rising steadily over the years. Composition of trade. The demand for primary goods was replaced by finished manufactured goods. In the present times, the service sector, including travel and transportation, is undergoing a huge surge. Direction of trade. The developing countries used to export goods to the European countries in the earlier days. In the 19th century, there was a reversal in the direction of trade, and the European countries exported manufactured goods to the developing Asian and African countries. With time and the loss of European colonies, the developing countries gained a foothold in the world trading markets independently. The two types of international trade are bilateral trade and multilateral trade. Bilateral trade is when two countries trade with each other. Multilateral trade is conducted with many trading countries. What do we mean by free trade? Free trade or trade liberalization refers to the opening up of economies for trading. This is done by bringing down trade barriers like tariffs. It allows goods and services from all over the world to compete with domestic goods and services of a country, thereby giving greater choices. This practice often proves harmful for developing countries as their markets are taken over by the free flow of foreign products. It is commonly believed that the free trade is actually widening the gulf between rich and poor by making rich countries richer. Dumping of goods also adversely affects a country's economy. The practice of selling goods to another country at a price below the normal price of the goods is called dumping. The objective of dumping is to increase market share in a foreign market. In 1948, the General Agreement for Tariffs and Trade was informed by some countries to liberalize the world from high custom tariffs and other types of restrictions. The GATT was permanently transformed into the World Trade Organization from 1st January 1995 onwards. The WTO sets the guidelines for the global trading system and settles disputes between the member countries. Currently, there are 159 countries under the WTO, with India being one of the founding members. Several countries had their grievances against global trading organizations. Hence, regional trade blocs were set up. Regional trade blocs or regional trade agreements are a type of regional intergovernmental arrangement between countries with close physical proximity participate in trading practices. Though international trade encouraged diffusion of cultural practices and is mutually beneficial to countries, it has several social, economic, and environmental problems. Economically, the countries become dependent on other countries, and this leads to unequal development in the economies. Environmentally, this affects the natural resources of a country as it competes to produce some or more of the global market. This scramble for more affects the natural forests, soils, rivers, and marine life. Different types of pollution which arise as a result of trading in oil, gas mining, pharmaceuticals, and agri-business destroy a country's ecosystem irreversibly. Now, as you may have already guessed, most of international trades are carried on by sea and oceanic routes. Types of ports according to the traffic they handle. Commercial ports. These handle general cargo packaged products, manufactured goods and passengers. Industrial ports. These ports specialize in bulk cargo like grain, sugar, ore, oil, chemicals, etc. Comprehensive ports. These handle bulk and general cargo in large volumes. On the basis of location, ports are classified. Inland ports. These ports are located at a distance away from the sea coast. A river or a canal joins these ports to the sea. These kind of ports are accessible to flat-bottomed ships or barges. For example, Manchester is linked with a canal. Outports. These are built away from the actual ports. These ports receive those ships which are unable to reach the main ports due to their large size. Example, Athens and its outport Piraeus in Greece. Types of ports on the basis of specialized function. Ports of call. These ports originally developed as points on the main sea routes, where ships used to anchor for refueling and watering. Later on, they developed into commercial ports. For example, Singapore Port. Packet station or ferry ports. These packet stations exclusively transport passengers and mail across water bodies. These routes cover short distances. These port stations occur in pairs and are located in such a way that they face each other across the sea or river. Example, Dover in England and Calais in France across the English Channel. Naval ports. These ports serve warships and have repair workshops from them. Kochi is an example of a naval port. That brings us to the end of the video lesson. We hope this helps you to understand the chapter better. See you next in the recap and question and answer videos.